The alien soldier, Koresh, stood at attention as his captain lectured him one last time. "Listen carefully, Koresh," the captain said, his eyes glowing a fierce red. "Humans are strange, unpredictable, and far more dangerous than they look. You are entering their territory alone, and if you are caught, there is no return." Koresh, young and bold, felt a thrill instead of fear. He had heard the stories of humans, small, fragile creatures who relied too much on machines. How dangerous could they really be? The warnings only made him curious. He couldn't resist this mission. As his ship crossed the boundary into human space, Koresh felt his pulse quicken. His task was to slip into a human station, gather data on their technology, and return to report. He knew he was skilled. His own people considered him one of the best in stealth operations. Humans wouldn't even notice him. The first sign of trouble came sooner than expected. Koresh's ship hadn't even entered the human station when he spotted a strange, tiny red light on his dashboard. Before he could react, a blast rocked his ship. He lost control, the panels sparking and sizzling. The humans had spotted him already. He managed to pull the ship away, but it crashed onto the surface of a nearby human moon base, and he tumbled out in his combat suit. Koresh gathered himself, looking around quickly. The human base was quiet, and there was no sign of any guards. Maybe he could sneak through unnoticed after all. His suit allowed him to blend into the shadows, and he moved silently through the corridors. His senses on high alert. As he made his way deeper into the base, Koresh found strange machines lining the walls. They looked harmless enough, metal boxes with blinking lights and silent monitors. He brushed past them, focused on finding the core data room. Suddenly, he felt a sharp sting in his leg. Startled, he looked down to see a tiny dart sticking out of his suit. He reached down to pull it out, but it was too late. His vision began to blur, and his muscles felt heavy. He stumbled, realizing too late that he'd been trapped. Somehow, humans had set up a silent alarm that he hadn't detected. Koresh tried to move, but his legs felt like lead. He collapsed to the floor, helpless. But after a few seconds, his vision cleared, and he was able to crawl back up, though he felt weaker. Whatever humans had injected him with, it hadn't been enough to take him out completely. He stumbled forward, determined not to fail. He found himself in a large, dark room. The walls were lined with what looked like strange cages, and there were computers humming softly in the center. Koresh quickly went to one of the consoles, hoping to gather data before anyone noticed him. But as he typed in commands, alarms blared throughout the base. Red lights flashed, casting an eerie glow on the walls. Koresh's heart raced. They knew he was here. He heard footsteps approaching, and then a heavy metal door slid open. Koresh turned to see a group of human soldiers entering, their weapons aimed directly at him. They wore suits of thick, advanced armor, nothing like he had expected. These humans looked well prepared, their eyes hard and cold. Koresh had only a moment to react. He activated his suit's cloaking mode, disappearing from view. The humans paused, surprised, but then they split up, scanning the room carefully. He tried to slip between them, but just as he was near the door, a net shot out from one of their devices, tangling around him and pulling him to the ground. The humans were on him instantly, pulling off his helmet and revealing his face. They looked at him with a mixture of curiosity and caution. Koresh stared back, defiant, but a bit shaken. How had they trapped him so easily? "Thought you could sneak in, huh?" one of the humans said, his voice cold. "Well, alien, you're not going anywhere now." Koresh realized that everything he had assumed about humans was wrong. They weren't weak, and they weren't unprepared. These humans were clever, with defenses far more advanced than he had imagined. He had walked straight into their trap, and now he was at their mercy. As they bound his hands and took him deeper into the base, Koresh couldn't help but feel a strange respect for these humans. They had anticipated his every move, using traps he had never seen before. His own people had underestimated them, and now he was paying the price. They led him into a cell with thick, energy-reinforced bars. He could tell there was no escape from this place. The humans had caught him, and he was now their prisoner. The irony stung. He had thought humans were weak, but now they held him in the palm of their hands. As the cell door closed, Koresh remembered his captain's warning. "You won't return from human territory," he had said. And now, trapped and defeated, Koresh understood those words all too well. For the first time in his life, Koresh felt the sting of failure. Humans were not the simple beings he had believed. They were dangerous, and he had underestimated them. And now, he was facing the consequences, trapped in the heart of human territory, knowing he might never return. The alien scout, Zaryak, floated silently in his small stealth ship, staring at the vast stretch of human territory ahead. This was the border his captain had warned him about so many times. "Stay away from human space, Zaryak," the captain had said. "Their defenses are powerful. Entering their zone is a death sentence." But Zaryak was young, daring, and eager to prove himself. He thought the captain was being overly cautious. Humans were small, fragile creatures. What could they possibly do to harm him? He had no idea what all the fear was about, and he was about to find out for himself. His ship glided across the boundary into human space. Zaryak felt a thrill run through him. The Forbidden Zone. A place no alien dared enter. But he was confident his stealth mode would keep him hidden. The humans wouldn't even know he was here. But as he moved deeper, a strange feeling crept over him. Everything seemed too quiet. No ships, no signals, no patrols, nothing. It was as if humans didn't even care that he was here. Suddenly, a light on his control panel blinked red. Zaryak frowned. He checked his readings and felt a chill go down his spine. He was being tracked. Somehow, human sensors had detected him. Before he could react, an alert blared, and the warning lights filled his cockpit. He looked out the window and saw them. 3 human fighter ships heading straight for him. They were fast, sleek, and powerful, their engines roaring as they closed in on his position. Zaryak's heart raced. He activated his ship's evasive mode, spinning and dodging to avoid their fire. The humans fired round after round, each shot closer than the last. They were fast, much faster than he'd expected. His small ship darted left and right, but the human ship stayed right on his tail, refusing to let him go. As he zigzagged through space, Zaryak could see that these humans were not amateurs. They moved with precision, their ships responding to every command instantly. They anticipated his every move, almost as if they could predict what he would do next. Zaryak gritted his teeth. This was not going as planned. He thought he could slip in and out without anyone noticing, but now he was fighting for his life against some of the best pilots he had ever seen. Desperate, he decided to try his ship's cloaking device. In an instant, his ship vanished from sight, becoming invisible. He held his breath, hoping this would finally allow him to escape. But the human ships didn't stop. Instead, they started firing in a wide arc, covering all possible escape routes. Zaryak gasped as one of the blasts hit his ship, shaking it violently. Alarms blared and his controls flickered. His cloak was failing, and his ship's power was dropping fast. He had no choice now. If he didn't act soon, he would be stranded in human territory with no way out. Ignoring the damage, Zaryak accelerated, trying to lose the humans in the asteroid field ahead. He weaved between the rocks, hoping the dense field would block their sensors. But the humans followed him with ease. Their ships were built for this kind of maneuvering. Zaryak could barely keep up, his ship rattling with each sharp turn. The asteroids seemed to work in the humans' favor, allowing them to trap him further. As Zaryak took another turn, one of the human ships shot forward, blocking his path. Before he could react, another human ship moved to his side, cutting off his escape. He was surrounded. "Alien vessel, surrender immediately," a cold voice crackled over his radio. Zaryak's hands shook as he realized they had him. His mind raced, thinking of ways to escape, but there was no way out. Reluctantly, he powered down his engines and waited as the human ships closed in. They locked onto his vessel, and within seconds, he was being pulled into the hangar of a massive human ship. As Zaryak's ship touched down, human soldiers surrounded him, weapons drawn. They wore heavy armor and had determined expressions, showing no fear of the alien scout before them. Zaryak had never seen such intense focus in anyone's eyes. "Come with us," one of the humans commanded, his voice firm. Zaryak knew he had no choice. He climbed out of his ship, hands raised, and followed them down the long corridors. They led him to a holding cell, locking him inside with thick metal walls. Zaryak sat down, trying to process everything that had happened. He had underestimated humans completely, thinking he could easily sneak in and out without any trouble. Now he was trapped, a prisoner in their territory. Hours passed, and finally, a human officer entered. He looked down at Zaryak, studying him closely. "Why did you come here, alien?" he asked. Zaryak hesitated, feeling foolish. I didn't think you'd notice me," he admitted. "I thought humans were weak." The officer laughed, a harsh sound. "Weak? We've spent years preparing for intruders like you. Entering human space is a mistake you'll only make once." Zaryak nodded, realizing he was no match for these humans. They had proven themselves far more advanced and capable than he had ever imagined. As he sat alone in his cell, he thought back to his captain's words. "The human territory is a danger zone," the captain had said. "You don't return once you go in." And now, trapped and defeated, Zaryak finally understood the truth of those words. He had entered the danger zone, and there was no going back. Captain Drakkar, leader of the alien fleet, stared at the boundary line of human space on his ship's monitor. Beyond that line lay forbidden territory, a place his superiors had warned him about countless times. No alien had crossed that line and returned alive. But Drakkar was not an ordinary captain. He was ambitious, determined to make a name for himself and prove his worth to the High Council. For too long, the stories of humans had filled his people with fear. He wanted to change that, to show everyone that humans weren't as powerful as they seemed. "This will be my greatest victory," he declared to his crew, who looked nervous but trusted their captain. They believed in his strength and skill. Drakkar had never failed them before. As his fleet of sleek, dark ships crossed the boundary, the silence of space was thick. No human ships came to greet them, and no alarm sounded. Drakkar grinned. Maybe the humans didn't even know they were there. He ordered his fleet to push deeper into human territory, confident that victory was within reach. But as they moved forward, a message flashed on his screen. "WARNING hostile activity detected." Drakkar frowned. Before he could react, the entire area around his ships lit up with red blips on the radar. Human ships, dozens of them, were closing in fast. "Captain, they're surrounding us." One of his officers shouted, panic in his voice. Drakkar's grin faded, but he quickly masked his surprise with determination. "Stay calm," he ordered. "Prepare for battle. Humans may have numbers, but we have skill." The alien ships moved into formation, ready to face the human fleet. Drakkar watched as the human ships appeared on his screen, their sleek designs and advanced weaponry unlike anything he had expected. His crew exchanged nervous glances, but they followed his orders without question. The humans attacked first. Bright, powerful beams of energy shot toward Drakkar's fleet, and he ordered his ships to dodge. They managed to avoid some blasts, but the humans were relentless. Their ships moved with frightening precision, blocking every escape route. Drakkar's confidence began to waver as he realized just how skilled the human pilots were. They moved in perfect synchronization, cutting off any attempts his fleet made to retreat. For every shot his ships fired, the humans responded with two more, each blast striking with deadly accuracy. "Captain, our shields are weakening," another officer reported, his voice shaking. Drakkar clenched his fists. This was not going according to plan. He had underestimated the humans' strength and discipline. These weren't simple, fragile beings, as he had thought. They were organized, powerful, and clearly prepared for an invasion. "Activate emergency defenses," Drakkar commanded. His ships released defensive drones, small machines meant to distract the enemy. The drones flew around the human ships, flashing bright lights and sending out confusing signals. For a moment, it seemed to work. The human ships slowed, their formation breaking as they tried to handle the unexpected interference. Drakkar seized the opportunity, ordering his fleet to retreat. But the humans quickly adjusted. They blasted through the drones with ease, refocusing on Draker's ships with even more intensity. One by one, Drakkar watched as his ships were hit, shields failing, engines smoking. His once proud fleet was crumbling around him. Realizing he had no choice, Drakkar gave the order to retreat. "All ships, fall back," he shouted. "We're returning to safe territory." But it was too late. The human ships had closed in, forming a blockade that prevented any escape. Drakkar's own ship took a direct hit. Alarms blared, and smoke filled the room. "Captain, our engines are failing," one of his officers cried. The lights flickered, and Drakkar struggled to keep his focus. This was supposed to be his moment of glory, his chance to prove the humans were weak. But now, he was the one facing defeat. ASU, the human ship surrounded him. A message came through the communicator. A human captain appeared on the screen, his gaze cold and unforgiving. "Alien fleet, surrender now. You have no chance of victory." Drakkar felt a chill. The humans had been prepared all along, ready for any intruder. He had been foolish, too arrogant to see the truth. He realized that humans weren't weak or simple-minded. They were fiercely protective of their territory, and they wouldn't let anyone invade without a fight. With a heavy heart, Drakkar knew what he had to do. He activated the distress signal, a call for help that would reach his home world. He had failed, but at least his people would know the truth. Humans were not to be underestimated. He faced his crew, their faces filled with a mix of fear and respect. They had followed him into this battle, and he had led them into a trap. But they had fought bravely, and he would not abandon them. "Prepare for surrender," Drakkar said, his voice steady. "We will survive this, and our people will know what we faced." As the human ship surrounded them, Drakkar took a deep breath. His dream of glory was shattered, but he had learned a valuable lesson. The humans were powerful, and their territory was no place for aliens seeking conquest. In his final transmission, he sent one last message to his people: beware the human territory. It is a place of strength, and we will never return the same. As his ship powered down and the humans moved in to capture them, Drakkar accepted his fate. This was his last mission, but he hoped his people would remember his warning. Commander Narek hovered in his cloaked alien ship, staring at the strange blue and green world below. Earth. The human world. Narek had heard many stories about it, stories of war, bravery, and mysterious technology. Humans were fierce, dangerous beings who guarded their territory fiercely. But today, Narek was here on a risky mission. One of their own had crash-landed on Earth during a scouting mission. The alien government had debated for days, finally deciding to send a rescue team. Narek, known for his skill and calm under pressure, was chosen as the leader of this mission. He understood the risks, but knew he had to complete his duty. As he entered Earth's atmosphere, he activated his ship's stealth mode, turning it invisible to human eyes. He carefully followed the tracker that guided him to the crash site, deep in a dense forest. His heart pounded. The human military could be waiting, or worse, scientists eager to study an alien. Narek's ship landed softly on a hidden patch of grass, blending into the forest. He gathered his gear and exited the craft, his senses on high alert. He moved silently through the trees, following the tracker toward his lost crewmate. As he crept forward, he thought he heard strange noises, chirping, rustling, and even distant human voices. Everything felt different here, tense and unfamiliar. Finally, Narek spotted a small pod hidden beneath the trees. His crewmate, Derek, was inside, his form barely visible through the cracked glass. Narek hurried to the pod, prying it open with his energy tool. Derek looked up, his face pale and weak. "Narek, you came," Derek whispered, relief flooding his voice. Narek nodded, helping him out of the pod. "We don't leave anyone behind," he said firmly. "Can you walk?" Derek tried to stand but stumbled. I think I broke my leg in the crash." "And humans. I saw them nearby. They might still be looking for me." Narek's heart raced. He couldn't carry Derek easily, and if humans were close, they'd have to move quickly. He scanned the forest, his sharp vision picking up faint signs of movement in the distance. Time was running out. "Let's go." I'll help you, Narek said, supporting Derek as they moved. He kept his senses focused, listening for any sound of approaching humans. They managed to cover some ground, but Derek's injury slowed them down. Every step was painful, and Narek could feel the tension growing. Just as they neared the ship, a human voice called out from behind them. Stop! Don't move! Narek and Derek froze. They turned slowly to see two human soldiers with weapons aimed at them, their expressions wary yet curious. The humans stared, clearly surprised to see two aliens standing in front of them. Narek felt a rush of panic. He had to protect Derek, but fighting here could draw more humans and put them both in even greater danger. One of the soldiers spoke again, his voice firm but not hostile. We don't want any trouble. We just want to understand. Who are you? Narek hesitated, trying to gauge the humans' intentions. He could see curiosity in their eyes, not immediate hostility. Maybe, just maybe, they wouldn't be as dangerous as he'd been warned. But he couldn't take that risk. We're lost travelers, Narek replied carefully, keeping his tone calm. We mean no harm. We just want to leave. The soldier looked at Derek, noticing his injured leg. Your friend's hurt. We can help him, but you have to come with us. Narek felt a pang of fear. Going with the humans would mean losing control of the situation, but Derek's condition was worsening. They needed help, and he knew Derek couldn't hold out much longer. After a tense moment, Narek nodded. Fine. But only if you promise he'll be safe. The soldiers exchanged glances, then lowered their weapons slightly. Come with us, one of them said. We'll take you to our base, and then you can decide if you want our help. Narek supported Derek as they walked, the human soldiers guiding them through the forest. Narek kept his guard up, watching for any sign of betrayal. But the humans didn't harm them. Instead, they led them to a small camp where a human medic examined Derek's leg and provided a bandage and some basic pain relief. Derek sighed with relief as the medic finished. Thank you, he muttered to Narek, who nodded. We won't harm you, one of the soldiers said. But we do have questions. Why are you here? Narek took a deep breath. He decided to tell part of the truth. We were exploring, learning about this world. My friend had an accident, and I came to bring him home. The humans looked at each other, processing his words. After a moment, one of them nodded. Fair enough. You both should leave before others find you. This area is being watched. Surprised by their unexpected kindness, Narek helped Derek stand. The soldiers led them back toward their ship, keeping a watchful eye out for any other humans. As they reached the hidden spot where the ship lay, Narek felt a deep sense of relief. They were almost free. Before they left, Narek turned to the humans. Thank you. You helped us when you didn't have to. My people were wrong about you. The soldiers nodded, a hint of a smile on their faces. Not all humans are enemies, one of them replied. Just go safely and remember this. Narek helped Derek onto the ship, and as they lifted off, he glanced back at the human soldiers who had made their rescue possible. The humans had been their enemies in countless stories, but today they had shown compassion. As they escaped Earth's atmosphere and headed back to safety, Narek realized that this mission had taught him something valuable. Humans were not just the enemy, they were complex, capable of kindness, and more unpredictable than he'd ever imagined. And as he piloted the ship home, he knew he'd carry that lesson with him forever.